All right, so now let's talk about inclined planes. Okay, what an inclined plane is? An inclined plane is actually just a ramp or a sloping surface. All right, that goes like this. So we have these things all over the school, actually. All right, if you remember in my room, outside my room, there's the ramp that goes up to get to the lunchroom. There's a ramp that goes out here that goes from Mr. Thompson's room up to where I stand out in the hallway. There's the ramp that's down by the counseling office. So we have ramps all over the place in here. Why do we have ramps? Because it makes it easier to go from down there to get up. Right? We could put steps in, right? But the steps actually are a shorter distance and you got to climb. So therefore it actually takes more force. It's a shorter distance, but it takes more force, right? These things, it's a long distance, but it takes very little force. So it feels like you're not actually doing much, but you do that little extra force over a longer distance, right? The thing which I like to point out on that one is, and the note says, would you rather lift a refrigerator straight up 10 feet? So take a refrigerator, lift it straight up 10 feet to the next floor. It's the second floor of a house. Or would it be easier to go up a ramp? Right, so that ramp is up 10 feet. Well, obviously, if you really think about it, it's going to be a whole lot easier to go up that ramp. Right, so if this right here, if this is 10 feet, right, is it going to be easier to take that refrigerator and go and lift it up there and set it up there, or roll it up this long ramp? Right. Well, if I asked you which way is more work, they're exactly the same. It's exactly the same amount of work to go straight up or go up the ramp. Right? But what you find is it takes a lot of force in a short distance, a lot of force to go straight up. To take the ramp, you're going to do a small amount of force, but over a really long distance. Right? And the way in which I like to describe it in the notes is I have down for straight up, the force is great. Like, let's make the force a 10. The distance, really short, that's a 1. So 10 times 1, forced, the force times the distance equals 10. Now, if you do the ramp, well, the force is really small, so that would be like a 1. And the distance is really long, so that would be a 10. So now it's 1 times 10, where the other one was 10 times 1. Well, it's still 10. So the work is still the same, all right? So really going up the ramp, it's the same amount of work as going straight up. It just takes less force, which makes it a whole lot easier. Now, if we want to figure out mechanical advantage for these, it's really, if you were in math, it would be called slope. Oh my gosh, that's math. Why are we going to do math and science? Well, you know, they kind of blend together once in a while. So what you need is you need the length divided by the height, and that actually gives you the mechanical advantage. So the longer we make that ramp, then the greater the mechanical advantage, the easier it is to go up that ramp. Okay, and those are, like, again, all over the school, and some of these ramps are really, really long. The one from Mr. Thompson's room all the way up to where I stand in the hallway, that's a really, really long ramp. Why? Because if you go into the computer lab, it's like 6 steps that it has to go up. It's a really high distance that has to be lifted. Now, if you go to the one that's outside my room, that one's not as long, but it's only going, and in my room, there's 3 steps. Now, that's the distance you have to go up. How do I know that? Well, if you come in my door that's down here, it comes in flat. You go up the ramp, and then you come in a door up here that's flat in. Okay? And the distance to get up there is 3 steps. So that means the ramp in the hallway goes up 3 steps. Right? But we extend it over a really, really long distance, so we don't notice it. It takes very little force and makes it a whole lot easier to go up that ramp. All right, well, that's an inclined plane. So we'll talk to you next one. See ya.